Our next panel is about opportunity or illusion, choosing the next step in your startup adventure. So this is meant for both funders and founders and anywhere in between. So we're going to have a wonderful group of people here who are going to discuss topics that transcend this domain.
So choosing your next startup adventure, let's be honest, in the age of AI, seed funds, story decks, it's getting harder to tell the difference between a game-changing idea and a very expensive mirage. We've assembled an all-star panel of people who've lived through the peaks, the pivots, the patents, and the pitch decks, and the pressure. First up, a man who can probably file a patent faster than most of us can file taxes. Jay Rajadas is a true scientist, entrepreneur hybrid with over 82 patents, 254 scientific publications, and real-world healthcare solutions licensed to companies like Nova Ankara and Tortona, he's on a mission to turn cutting-edge research into human impact. His work spans everything from heart attack therapies to stem cell skin regeneration for rare diseases like epidermolysis bullosa, am I saying that correctly? Often called the butterfly skin. Basically, if science can't fix it, Jay is already in the lab making it happen. Next up is someone whose career spans MIT acoustics, PayPal risk models, eBay AI strategy, and the eternal hunt for the perfect cup of coffee. Rama Rao, the co-founder of Hypersonics. Before that, he helped shape applied data science at companies like Cabbage and Intuit. He even taught machine learning at MIT while driving strategy in the boardroom. Because why do one thing when you can do everything? Now on his next venture, Rama blends curiosity, caffeine, and computational horsepower, and we're excited to see where he's headed next. If startups are about scaling potential, then our next speaker is all about scaling people. Dr. Ravi Gundlapalli is the founder of Mentor Cloud, used in over 100 countries. He's the author of The Art of Mentoring, has spoken across 4 continents, been featured in books, and even lit up the NASDAQ tower in Times Square. With a PhD in fluid mechanics, a Forbes India DGEMS award, and a corporate past in aerospace and supply chains, Ravi brings engineering discipline to human development and a solid dose of Carnatic music if you catch him in the hallway. Also keep an eye out for the Amrit Kal Mentors movement, his latest initiatives connecting mentors to youth across India. Ever wanted to meet someone who worked on the Mars rover and now invests in your pitch deck? Well, you're in luck. Sailesh Ramakrishnan is the co-founder and managing partner at Rocketship VC, where they use AI to discover startups before the rest of us even hear about them. From NASA to Walmart Labs to building Lockbox to investing across global geographies, Sailesh's career is the blueprint for combining deep tech with real-world application. He's proof that data-driven VC isn't the future, it is already here. And rounding out this trailblazing crew is MG Ramachandran, operator, investor, and a key force behind Sprout and Oak, an early-stage VC fund with a founder-first mindset. With experience across venture startups and a love for the deep sea, when he's not funding the next big thing, you might just find him scuba diving off the grid. With that, I'll leave you to it.
Thank you very much. Again, as I was saying, this is a particular privilege for me to moderate this panel, certainly because, of course, IT alum, but also being the youngest over here, this should like draw upon all of the experiences of my fellow panelists here. So what we decided when we were huddling is we wanted to just up-level it a little bit as we start. So the conversation is not just about like startups, opportunities or illusions, but like ultimately it's about choice, right? And we all face choices on a daily basis, and we figured like we'd kind of like try to get a framework of how do we make those choices, and then kind of talk about specifics around your startup journey. So I just like to start with Rama there and kind of, a quick small anecdote in your own journey of like a particular choice that you faced, career or otherwise, and what were the one or two points that like really made the decision for you one way or another?
Thanks, MJ. Let's go back to IIT. I'll start with my first choice. I was in my final project, Naval Arc. We all had to design a ship, and I had to name my ship. I was thinking, what should I name my ship? It's a choice. Being the person, cast yourself as a person of that age, I decided to name it as MV after you. So that if there was someone I wanted to impress, I could go and say, I named my ship after you. So that's how it all started. But anyway, at a later point, let me talk more about the actual question that MJ asked. I could say the first big material choice when I finished my grad school, which I thought actually made a difference for me, at least personally, was after my PhD, there was a big choice, okay, go back into the industry, do something there versus stay in academia. And I decided I was passionate about continuing to stay in academia for some time, even though it was probably not the optimal choice from a career perspective or what have you. So I decided to continue staying in academia, and eventually, I mean, as we talk a little bit later, we can say it opened a lot of doors for me which I hadn't envisioned. So one key point that I want to sort of say is, at least my observation is, when we make choices, the reason why choices are difficult is sometimes the benefits may be clear, but the trade-off or the cost may not be clear. And in other cases, the benefit itself may not be clear until you go through them. So it helps to keep an open mind and think about holistically and maybe follow your heart when you make a choice.
Thanks, Rama. So it seems like unknown unknowns, right? So we'll certainly come to that in a second. But Ravi, your anecdote?
Yes. So I'm in Naval Arc as well. But I didn't name my ship like that. But, this particular panel, everything is an illusion until you are in it. When I was in small town in Andhra Pradesh, going to Chennai was an illusion. I did my 11th and 12th there. And after that, I discovered IIT, illusion. And then, everybody was going to the US, so I also applied. I got into the US. So every step of the way, it was the illusion that really, attracted me. But then, if you inject into the delusion some kind of curiosity and some, sanity, you can convert it into an opportunity. So that's how it has been from Naval Arc to working on submarines to designing ships, working on the 787 Dreamliner. Unfortunately, it is not getting a good news nowadays. But from designing ships to actually designing aircrafts, every step of the way seemed like an illusion. But with the right kind of mentorship, with the right kind of hard work, I've converted all of them into an opportunity. And even now with my startup, and we'll talk more about it, it seemed like a very interesting problem to solve, illusion, but every day I turn it into an opportunity to do something good.
Thanks, Ravi. I think the common theme here is like, just the fear potentially or the excitement by the unknown to kind of like make it into at least a known unknown and then known knowns and expertise, which is something we talked about. But before we go deeper in there, Sailesh, your anecdote of like choice?
Well, for me, the most exciting move was coming here to the Bay Area to work at NASA, and that was a phenomenal experience. But then the realization was, even though that was a lot of fun, startups were even more fun than working at NASA. And so I, after 4 years of working at NASA, jumped to a startup that my fellow IIT classmates were founding. And just always looking for that next big exciting thing, ignoring some of the risks mostly focusing on the opportunities was what helped me sort of reach where I am. So every step that I've taken almost always has been at a different level of excitement, perhaps risk, but also mostly excitement. So I've been always lucky to find things that I found more exciting than what I was doing, last year in some sense.
That's great. I think a lot of perceived risk also, for better or for worse, right? But in your case, certainly better, has been obviated by the fact that you're excited and you kind of like will things into action. And I think that's a big part of why I do what I do. I'm a VC, and my dad was a first-time entrepreneur who came from this village of like 20,000 people and made things happen. When he story goes that like he didn't know what the gearbox was. He used to take the bus and like he just thought like they were just fiddling with a stick. But when he passed when I was in high school, he speak like 8 languages, right? And so I think the excitement obviating the fear is again part of the themes of like how we kind of make those decisions between illusory choices and make them into reality. But before we go deeper there, Jay, please, your anecdote on like some of the choices you made and why.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And when I was very impressed with the title, innovation, whether it's illusion, and how to connect the innovation, illusion, and opportunity. In fact, it started with the thing which many of us have got a fear, aging, because I'm the youngest. Whether whether any way I can reverse the aging, that I remain as as much young as possible. That was my search actually for almost 22 years. That's how I started most of my biotech ventures. I'm in academia, so we are only allowed 20% of our time in starting companies and all. And most of that, the first product I developed, I just developed, I took this as a big illusionary thing, like preventing the wrinkles. In those days, Juvidum was there and Botox was there, and I never liked these two products because Botox is like a plastic-like appearance, and then Juvidum, it's the beads go around, and then you can't do a good job. So the first product is, again, we developed a very nice threads, which now they are selling it as aligned threads, hyaluronic acid thread, that sold into 5x of the investments we made. And then that is the first. Then the next one is the COVID. During COVID, aging is a big issue because one of the, diabetes, aging, and also other things is big liability there when people are affected with COVID. So we started another company called Conf, and we developed another product, Swaza, to help the people to breathe better. So it was a big, very illusionary thing because we need to compete with very big biotechs, and they told it's impossible, almost impossible, but we were moderately successful, and there are about 3 companies now based on that for a COVID and related product, including Swaza, which is doing amazingly well. Thank you, and I wanted to continue my discussion.
Thanks, Jay. I think from there, I think one thread I'd like to pick up is the concept of like founder problem fit, right? And I think when you're thinking about a choice between your startup or leaving to start something, joining a startup, whichever it is, like Jay said, like the personal motivation or whatever it is, the founder problem fit is something that's like really important. And so Sailesh, like I remember we met back in 2019, and like before data-driven VC was like when the day of very cool, like Rocket Ship was doing that, right? So what would you share in terms of your experience based off of this, in terms of how you distinguish signal from noise when it comes to this founder problem fit?
Absolutely. So just again to give further context, Rocket Ship is the fund that we founded almost 11 years ago. We use AI and machine learning algorithms to find our investments. So our algorithms identify the startups first, which we then reach out to and evaluate for investment. And one of the key aspects that the algorithms do okay on but not great is in identifying the quality of the founding team. We as humans are, at least for now, much better at evaluating the quality of the founders. And in specific, this concept of founder problem fit is one of the key things that we look for. Because the startup journey, even though it's full of excitement, is also very hard and arduous. And unless you really are passionate about the problem that you're trying to solve for, unless you have some sort of innate need to want to have that problem solved, it's oftentimes very hard, and it's sometimes easier to give up at the first instance where you're not able to get to make progress. And so we look for many of those aspects of how passionate is the person or the founding team. Why are they wanting to solve this problem? Why is this the problem to be solving now? And see that they have the strength to run that marathon of really building a successful company. And this is something that algorithms, at least till today, aren't very great at evaluating, that we are hopefully better at. And it's one of the most interesting things that we find. And it's not something you can just do with one conversation either. You have to spend a little bit of time with the founder, understand why they want to do this the way they want to do this now. And you can see the various founders here will have that innate sense of passion combined with fortitude that says they will, no matter what, go solve this problem. And so that's something that we really look for that complements what the algorithms do.
Right, and I think I'm going to have Rama piggyback on this, right, which is you've obviously worked at Intuit and founded Hypersonics and so on. Big companies are really good at killing ideas and because they're not in the path of shareholder value. So how can somebody use a big company experience and how have you used it to kind of spot a problem that is not something that's worth building a company on, right? So how should people think about that? Just because there's an opportunity or a problem doesn't need solving.
So yeah, thanks for that. So there are two perspectives here, which is being in a big company, how does that environment either help you or help you cultivate some skills that is furthering you on your startup journey. And I'll connect that to also the other point that Sailesh made about founder market fit. If you think about, I'm going to first start what being in a startup feels like, and I'll just tell you my perspective on that. My most exhilarating moment in my first startup, I could say there are 3 or 4 different types of things that made me feel really, I could say it was a totally new experience. The first time when we built something and we got a feedback from a customer that they actually felt there was value in that. When they said, hey, we wake up and we get to your product and this is something that makes a difference for us. The second is to build that. The first time I was able to convince somebody to come and join my company solely on what I was selling them about, the vision as to where we wanted to go. The third is when we eventually wanted to raise money and we convinced investors to also come with us in our journey. So if you think these are the kinds of things that you need to do as you're in a startup journey, which is you are projecting your dream, your vision, or your excitement about something. And to me, the rubric for founder market fit is if you're able to do that even in a big company. Just think about any project and you're trying to convince somebody in a different team to either support you or come with you on, let's say, a new idea that you're pushing. The more you practice that muscle, the more you're getting ready for doing something like that on your own. The more you're trying to push or use your influence to push a new product or a venture. That is, again, building of a muscle, which later can point you in the right direction of you then saying, hey, I can approach a new problem. I can think of a way to solve the problem. And I can basically infect others with my enthusiasm. Those are some of the things that I think you can learn from in a big company. And yes, big companies are great at saying no. In fact, humans, I mean, even as professionals, we are, as you grow, you're probably saying no to more things than yes to many things. So it is really a question of then saying, hey, how do I learn from, use my, I would say even big company, any non-startup experience as a way to build certain muscles which really are going to be the ones that push you forward when you're a startup, because at that point, in many cases, you're a party of one trying to move the rock up the hill.
Thanks, Ram. I think I remember when my nephew, when he was 5 years old, asked me what I do for work, and I told him I speak on the phone to a lot of people, and I say no all the time, right? As a VC, that's kind of like what I do. But a little bit of a joke aside, I think like you can learn a lot from that no. I think that's kind of like what you're saying, that building that muscle of like it's a no because you didn't articulate it well, or is it a no because the problem it's a highly future forward technology, but you can't build a company out of it. I mean, there's a lot of ways for you to kind of like figure that out, right? And I think Ravi, I wanted to ask you a question before we go to Jay about the same rigor that we were talking about in terms of the importance of networks and like support, right? Like and risk thresholds at different parts of your career in terms of like, and how you make that choice and how important it is, especially with what you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the word startup itself should actually tell you, because a lot of companies, even though when they're 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, they still call themselves startup, because startup is an illusion by definition. And it is that illusion that actually, wakes up, makes us wake up every in the morning with a sense of excitement. Because if you don't do the work that you're supposed to do with making sure that you have the right mentors, you are having a network of advisors and early customers who are able to guide you, that illusion can very soon actually drown you. So the fact that we use the word startup even much later is for the fact that because nobody knows what's going to happen, right? The technology is changing so fast, the world is changing so fast, there are so many wars coming up, so you don't know what the dynamics is, so you have to constantly be on the edge and chasing after that with the right mindset. Surround yourself, a lot of young people in the audience, network aggressively, don't be afraid, and experiment. When you're early, you can experiment. And so I would say, I think you should go after something that looks risky, but then, be open to learning. Be open to, seeking help, because I always say asking for help is a sign of strength, not a weakness. So ask for help, experiment, and very quickly know if, actually in the title when I was thinking of the word opportunity, it's not the opportunity to make money. Definitely just be very clear. Is this next startup an opportunity for me to learn? Is this an opportunity for me to make new connections? Is it an opportunity for me to sort of differentiate myself? So that's the opportunity you want to look for. And as long as you are continuously learning and growing, you will eventually find something that will bring you phenomenal success.
Thanks, Ravi. And I think part of that support is also kind of like familial and spousal and partners and so on and so forth. That's like you can't ignore that, right? Like there are certain times that like you want to do this and there is an opportunity, but you just cannot because timing isn't right. And a lot of the time comes down to timing. But we were talking about, when Rama was talking about like academia choices, I wanted to ask you, Jay, there's a certain rigor that comes with the 3-digit number of patents you have and publishing that you have. How does, and especially with starting a couple of companies, how does that rigor from academia, how has that like helped you translate it into startups, and how is it potentially different also, right? Is it a different type of rigor?
Yeah.
two things I learned because I learned two, very important, maybe for many of you. One, the VCs never fund for ideas. They fund, if you convince them, you make them rich. This is a really, really hard truth. I have to reconcile myself because whenever we go for a pitch deck, people, after the failure, basically, people give me the feedback. They always say, Jay, don't talk about science. Nobody bothers. Try to convince them that you are going to make them rich. Then you will get funded. This is the hard truth, unfortunately, I found. The second thing I found out that we need to, like, even if you have that passion to be philanthropic, you should not reveal that at all. I don't know why. So I will tell you one anecdote. Like the very big investment team, I don't want to tell their name. I was going there for a pitch deck, and then I finished. This is for the COVID, for technology we developed for COVID to help people. And then I told, ultimately, we are going to compete with Pfizer in this, like that I was mentioning. Finally, I told, ultimately, I wanted to help people of my country because a lot of people expected to be affected by COVID. This is before the second wave. When I finished this, the person who helped me to get the pitch deck presentation, he said, Jay, stop. We are not here for philanthropy. Even at any level, like that he told me. I lost that opportunity. So I just wanted to warn people, the real ground reality is that be careful what you speak, especially the first 2 minutes of your pitch deck.
Well, that puts Sailesh to shame on that note. But, it is true, right? Ultimately, there is an economic component to it. I think that's why we're talking about that founder problem fit. We're talking about the excitement. I mean, the harsh realities of how to pitch a VC, and it's about the story and the narrative. And even Vidya's conversation with Archana, she's talking about like how she starts with that experience and the end user and the product and coming back. And I think, yes, VCs are returns motivated because our biggest fiduciary responsibility is to return capital. But I love Jay's perspective in terms of how do you pitch, right? Because this is another thing that I'd like to say. Like highly technical founders, especially as ITNs, where we're really excited about the technology, but many a time you don't get funded because it's not just about the technology. And I think it is harsh, but it is very true if you want to get funding about that.
Sorry, I feel I have to interject just a bit. So I was a founder before I became a VC, and I'll be very frank, I hated VCs. Because every time I went out to raise money, first of all, you have to hear no, every single time, and that's quite demoralizing. And then the second is what Jay said. They don't get it. They don't get the idea. They're always looking for something else, and I didn't really understand it. But we raised money successfully. We raised our Series A. We sold our company, and then I became a VC. And then I realized what an idiot I was as a founder, that I didn't understand what they were there for, what a VC's role was. And to Jay's point, again, I would say not all VCs are the same. Of course, as MJ said, it is our job to make money for our investors. But you need the right kind of VC who can believe in both your vision and your ability to make money. Because the ability to make money is not guaranteed. But your vision and your passion gives you the best chance of taking that forward. So again, the right VC might be the right match for you.
And Ravi, just one thing. I think what I would say for that is that being a founder is a highly lonely journey, especially at the very early stages. And if you are going to go get funding, know that it's not unlike a marriage, and you want somebody who can be your friend, consigliere, but who also kind of be pretty unfiltered about how to make this thing successful. Because while you may know your company, they see, and we see kind of a lot of outside in knowledge, right? So picking the right people to go work with is also part of this like choice of like how you make that choice. Sorry, go ahead, Ravi.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. In fact, I just thought of a new acronym for VC, because yes, you are venture capitalists, and there's another word for V that you hear a lot, but I think if you start thinking about what I thought of just now as a value creators, right? If you start thinking along those lines, then you should allocate a small percentage of your fund towards creating value, because when you make a lot of money, you still need people who are healthy. You still need an ecosystem where that money can be spent for you to have fun. So I tell people, yes, we should make money, but at least there has to be a world where there are highly skilled people. There are good hospitals for healthcare. So I think I would like you to start thinking yourself as a value creators, which is what entrepreneurs are. They are all creating value. And so if there can be a good combination of value and venture, I think that can be a good mix.
No, I think that's a great point, right? I mean, there's a certain set of VCs who are called double bottom line VCs, where it's not just about the financial returns, but also how what the impact is. It's not just impact investing in regular investors, but one of my counterpoints is like, sure, maybe a slightly more capitalistic view is if I have an endowment who's part of my LP base, and they invested in us, and if I can return 10x how much they put in, then they can do more in research, right? So I think VCs are not made the same, and we get a bad rap, and some of it we certainly deserve. But there's different ways to create value, and there's different ways to work with people, and so that's kind of like what I think Sailesh was kind of like saying, and I was trying to repeat, which is like finding the right set of partners, especially as you embark on this like more than likely long and certainly lonely journey, is very important. I think we're coming up on time. I would like to open the questions from the audience, if you have any. We have like 3 minutes. Three questions. Okay. As the audience is getting prepared, yes, please. Please go ahead. Go next.
Hi. So, like both of you are VCs, and if at all somebody comes down to you guys for a pitch deck, like how do you actually realize if it's a good opportunity or a well-packaged illusion?
Why don't you go ahead, Sailesh?
So this is what makes our jobs hard. It is not knowable for most of the time, and we can't claim to be experts in everything we do. So this is also the reason why at Rocketship we started using data to help us understand the potential. But at some point, the potential only takes you so far. A lot of value goes into executing that idea. A lot of people say, right, it's 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. So a lot of this has to do with whether we believe this team or this group of people will put in the work that is needed in order to get to that eventual success. And that's something we spend a lot of time on. The true innovation is quite subjective. Things that I get personally very excited by, things that go to space, things that have to do with AI and machine learning. Those are things that I personally get excited by, and so those are the things that we would find ourselves typically investing in. But a lot of it has to do with the human aspect, or whether they can take this to the next level.
I mean, I'd say, especially like, so half of our fund is incubated, and the rest is like at the very earliest stages. So I spend most of my time underwriting the team, more than even sometimes the idea itself, because of that execution component, right? So I think a lot of it is just making sure that like we know we can work with this person, we know that they are quote unquote coachable, that they they need to have the conviction to kind of like say no to us, but also be able to like listen and learn from us, knowing that like we have and bring a certain set of skills and values to the table. So,
hi, I have a question. So obviously the word passion gets thrown around a lot when you are wanting to go into any kind of a venture. But maybe I want to dig into that one level deeper and ask you, because you could have somebody who's really passionate about the technology, the technical problem they're working on, or they could be really passionate about the impact that it is going to have on, you know, whoever the customer is, or somebody who's just passionate about, you know, making money, right? And is like, oh, I know how to find a problem and, you know, and a solution to it. So I don't know if you want to like comment on what's more or less attractive to you when you are seeing, you know, these different kinds of passions in people, in founders.
Maybe I'll just. I think more than the passion, it's the person behind the passion that's more important, because ultimately it's that person who needs to execute and who needs to have a good strategic plan to achieve whatever they want to achieve. So I think it is all of us who invest. I mean, I'm also invest in companies, but it's very important to look at the person and see is he being delusional without having the right data to support it. Or is this person, genuinely interested in solving the problem and has a pathway to solve the problem?
Yeah, and I think Rama was saying this when in his initial thing, right, which is about knowing yourself. And I think I want to pull that thread just a little bit. And this is also why, like at least from a venture capitalist and investment perspective, we look at complementarity in terms of teams, right? Like we have like a technical founder who's complemented with somebody who can go do the go-to-market. So passion, quite honestly, takes you so far, but after that is about the real, execution aspect of things. So, which is also why you want to be sure you want to be doing this, right? And you want to be sure you're doing this with the people that you're doing, whether it's your team or your investors, your design partners, because you have your initial set of design partners who kind of help you build the product, and they suck the oxygen out of the room, and you're basically doing off-the-books R&D for them, right? So a lot of the time, you gotta like be savvy about like understanding this, even as an entrepreneur.
I'll just add a little point. Probably I'm answering a question behind the question. As a founder, I think your question is what makes a founder more attractive to a VC. I would flip that around and say, as a founder, if you want to be an entrepreneur, number one, I'd say probably my first biggest thing is learn to accept no's. Know how to deal with someone saying no to either your idea, the direction, or wherever you want to go. And flip it around and try to see what can I learn from that and how do I continue to pivot and move. And true passion is saying I'll still find a way irrespective of the no's. Because to all the discussion that we had here, yes, people who are VCs are investing for returns. Another perspective as a founder who can sort of see it with more empathy is that value to customer is a reflection of dollars. So in a way, they are using money as a proxy for saying how much value are you generating. So in a sense, you are on the same side if you choose to look at it that way. And ultimately, to me, my perspective is the ability to deal with no's and the ability to continue to move forward is one of the things that I'm still learning. And it helps to do it with, I think, the other thread that MJ was talking about. A founder journey is a journey of your tribe, your family, your kids, etc. And even the point that Vidya made, because no's can be extremely demotivating, but then if you have something more important in your life, whether it's your personal life or your something else that holds you up, then you can deal with it and you can keep moving on. So I would tend to say there is a way in which you can bridge both.
We'll take the last question here from Shiva, and in the interest of time, I'm trying to just optimize everybody. So keep your responses to brief, because you can always network later on.
Thank you, panelists. Hopefully this is not too much of a loaded question. In general, what is like the dynamic between the VC and the founding team, founder / how much help does do the founding team usually expect from the VCs in terms of being able to deliver what they promised to deliver, or is it just like very transactional? I'm just curious about that.
A quick answer to Naren's point is depends. Depends on the founder, depends on the VC, because there are VCs who are extremely hands-off, and it works perfectly for certain founders. Other VCs are there to offer any kind of help, whether it is customer outreach, prospect outreach, hiring, a variety of areas. And the founding team does need that. So it really depends, and we can talk more about that.
Yeah, as a founder, it's actually, your pick. Just like VCs are interviewing you, you should interview the VC as well. Make sure that they're supporting, beyond the money, because the money is just one part of the whole journey. So it's your pick.
100%. I think we were talking about choosing the right people, right? Like, for example, Sprout and Oak, like we take a very operator mindset. My partners are still running the company, so we're incubating companies. So we're all up your business until we think like you can kind of like get the product where it is and kind of fly from there. If you don't want that, then you don't want funding from us, right? And if we don't think you'd want that, we're not going to fund you either. So I absolutely agree.
Sailesh or Jay, if you have a quick response, 10 seconds each.
I have one final, maybe it look negative, but it's a hard truth. Again, I learned, never put your VC in the board, the decision making. If you are doing that, you are in a suicidal path of your passion.
But you can't help it though. Sometimes they.
Also, I can't let that be the last statement.
Yeah, no.
Being a VC.
No.
So please.
I think there's a reason why he didn't get funding, but.
No, but more importantly, unfortunately, just like there are a lot of people with different sort of belief systems, there are a lot of VCs as well. We are also human. We are not alien. And therefore, it is just as much as a founder market match, there is also a founder VC match. And many of us, at least the few of us who have had founding experience ourselves, who have been operators before, we have a very different level of empathy with the founders we work with. And so at Rocketship, we have the full spectrum. There are certain founders that we work with very, very closely, and they want that help. And there are certain founders who are, very happy just meeting us once every few months and telling us how things are going. And all of those things are great because ultimately, again, as Ram mentioned, you want to think about this as a win-win. Both sides working together to deliver and create that value rather than, adversarial relationships. And I apologize that Jay has had adversarial relationships, but I'm reasonably confident enough to say that the field is not all of those kinds of people. The majority of us are very much interested in building things together.
Yeah, I just want to make one comment which we wanted to say as a panel. The opportunity right now, it is incredibly lucky to be young right now. Because when we were graduating, there were very few opportunities and they were all real. Now there are so many opportunities with AI technologies, with quantum computing, with data storage. So really it's an incredible time to be young, incredible time to be looking at so many startup opportunities, and opportunity to create your own path is really now.
With that, it's nice to know that Jay may have a solution for keeping people young or making them young, I guess. Thank you. Let's give a nice round of applause to this panel.
Thanks, Naren.